Tonight, impeachment talk heats up.
It's hard to imagine a more serious set of allegations.
The whistleblower, the president, and signs of a cover-up.
I feel angry that it happened to me.
More women bring allegations against an Ottawa city councilor. As the leaders spar at issue on climate change politics.
And here in Montreal, they are getting set for tomorrow's climate march.
Montreal is definitely taking the lead on climate change.
A mayor in the spotlight explains her city's big promise, but can Valerie Plante deliver? This is The National.
But we begin tonight with breaking news in last year's horrific Toronto van attack story. Video just released gives a clearer picture of the motivations behind it. Let's get you right to Ian with the new developments.
Rosemary, we are live on the Pacific edition of The National, and a publication ban on a police video interview with Alec Minassian has just been lifted. The judge allowed it because it's not a jury trial, and she concluded that due to the magnitude of the tragedy, she didn't want it to appear that this case was veiled in secrecy. Minassian is charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder and 16 counts of attempted murder. CBC News has decided to air limited segments of the interview that help explain what happened that day in April 2018 and why. Chris Glover looks at that and the reaction from one victim's brother.
Thought I'd be okay.
Nearly a year and a half after Nick D'Amico's sister was killed, pictures of 30-year-old Anne-Marie still bring him to tears.
Just kind of grounds you, you know?
Anne-Marie D'Amico and 9 others died last April when a rental van plowed down the sidewalk of Toronto's Yonge Street. This week, her brother and others who lost loved ones that day were shown the video of the police interview in advance of its public release.
I think all the emotions, whether it was anger or whatever, sorrow or whatever, all came in together at once, and you just start getting nauseous just thinking about it.
And you can just have a seat in the corner right over there, okay? Okay.
The interview with police happened just hours after the attack.
Well, I am a little shaken, to be honest. It's not like it's not my usual day, obviously.
A brief moment of emotion, but otherwise Alec Minassian shows little as he describes the randomness of his attack.
I was driving down Yonge because I knew it would be a busy area, and then as soon as I saw there were pedestrians, I just decided to go for it. The only reason I stopped my attack was because someone's drink got splashed on my windshield, and I was worried that I would crash the van anyway. So
thankfully it stopped him where it did, and thankfully it didn't go any further. But the last thing you want is more lives taken.
Come on, get down! Come on, get down!
Minassian revealed he wanted police to kill him, and he was disappointed he was arrested without a shot fired. And he confirmed he launched the attack because women had rejected his advances. Still, D'Amico's family worries about the impact of people hearing Minassian's words.
I wouldn't want to have anyone hear it, see it, and feel like that's okay to do.
D'Amico says it's motivated him to move forward with a foundation in his sister's name to raise money for women who suffer violence at the hands of men. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
We have reviewed the interview with Minassian and won't be publishing the full video. This is to limit the impact on victims' families and survivors and to avoid gratuitous publicity of Minassian's views and motivation. All right, let's send it back to Rosemary now in Toronto.
The official impeachment inquiry against Donald Trump is barely 2 days old, and the pressure on his presidency has grown fast. A whistleblower complaint concealed for weeks was released today, alleging Trump tried to get Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 election, echoing a summary released just yesterday of Trump's call with Ukraine's president. But the whistleblower also details a cover-up. For Trump supporters, none of this is evidence of wrongdoing.
Is the president defensible in this case?
Yes. What in this case rises to impeachment?
We'll have more on what this might mean for Trump and the Republicans in a moment. But first, Paul Hunter has more on a whirlwind day in Washington.
You solemnly swear or affirm
if nothing else, the acting director of U.S. National Intelligence today highlighted the obvious for those now trying to impeach Donald Trump.
Chairman, the horse has left the barn. You have all of the information.
Indeed, in a surprise, moments earlier, the White House had released the whistleblower report that began all of this. It details a series of direct and indirect communications between Donald Trump and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, with Trump pressing Zelensky to dig up dirt on Trump rival Joe Biden earlier this year. It cites multiple unnamed officials. As the report put it, the president abused his office for personal gain.
It's hard to imagine a more serious set of allegations than those contained in the complaint.
Says the document, Attorney General Bill Barr was involved, and it calls Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani a central figure. Stunningly, it also implies a White House cover-up, saying records of what was deemed a routine call were strangely put in a hyper-secure computer system, calling it a lockdown, adding, it's not the first time this White House has done that for purely political reasons.
It's another witch hunt. Here we go again.
Trump slammed Democrats for all of it, but it's what he said privately today that's raised serious concerns. Leaked to the LA Times, it's Trump with U.S. staff at the UN linking whoever spoke out with treason.
I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower, who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? The spies and treason. We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
In that recording, Trump did not mention that the penalty in the U.S. for treason is death. The whistleblower, meanwhile, for the record, still wants to speak before Congress. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Turning to the campaign trail in this country, today Liberal leader Justin Trudeau promised to protect more land and ocean areas, while Conservative leader Andrew Scheer vowed a harder look at the SNC-Lavalin affair. But what's important to see in both these cases is the subtext. David Cochran takes a look.
Andrew Scheer went into Justin Trudeau's home riding, into the city that headquarters SNC-Lavalin, and promised to blow the whole thing wide open.
A new Conservative government will launch a judicial inquiry into Justin Trudeau's corruption scandal.
An inquiry and a brand new law, the bluntly named No More Cover-Ups Act, to stop the use of cabinet confidentiality to halt police investigations.
Justin Trudeau should not be the person who decides whether or not Justin Trudeau is investigated.
SNC-Lavalin has wounded Trudeau, but it hasn't sunk his campaign, as the Liberal leader has grabbed onto a premier-sized life preserver.
Doug Ford, Doug Ford, Doug Ford.
Doug Ford now gets more of Trudeau's attention than Andrew Scheer. The Ontario Premier's polls are in the tank, and just today, a new report that Ford's education plan will cut 10,000 teachers from the school system.
While Doug Ford focuses on a buck of beer, there are grade 12 students that might not graduate this year because there aren't enough teachers to offer courses they need.
So Trudeau warning against doubling down on provincial and federal Conservatives, a pitch that resonates in a province where some Ford voters have buyer's remorse. But Scheer's SNC-Lavalin attack plays very differently in Quebec, where the company is a source of economic pride, than it does in the rest of Canada.
Polls have shown that Quebecers are highly in favor of what Justin Trudeau did. Are you not costing yourself votes in a province that you so desperately need them?
Not at all. I know that Quebecers are tired of being used as the excuse for Justin Trudeau's scandals.
So the resonance of Scheer's attack is less clear in Quebec, in a key province that plays a key role in every party's path to victory. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh said he too wants an inquiry into the SNC-Lavalin affair, said he's long called for one. But top of mind for him today was housing.
Our plan will literally lift up 500,000 families and will give them up to $5,000 of support.
Singh promised the NDP would provide annual rent subsidies to Canadians struggling to pay for housing. He also pledged to build 500,000 new affordable homes across the country over the next decade. Elizabeth May put the other federal party leaders on notice today. She says her Green Party is going to play hardball on pipeline politics, and she's hoping it will win enough seats to make a difference. She talked about that while traveling by train to tomorrow's big climate strike in Montreal, and our David Thurton was with her.
Keep green!
It's an old-fashioned whistle-stop tour through communities Elizabeth May says are ready to go green.
Bye, guys!
Her campaign spent the day rolling through eastern Canada, telling voters she might hold the balance of power in the next parliament. And if she does, she says she won't support the Liberals or the Conservatives if they continue to support this, the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion Project.
If the positions of the other parties were cast in stone and they would never budge, well, none of them could possibly be supported by Greens.
May says Canada can't reach its emission reduction targets if it builds another pipeline, and she's refusing to compromise.
The answer is no. You would
The
not
answer is
prop up
no.
a government.
Well, because it's not about politics, right? It's about a very clear imperative that global average temperature increase going above 1.5 degrees Celsius is so dangerous that survival of a healthy biosphere is in the balance.
But there's a risk to May's ultimatum. If there is a minority government, the Liberals or Conservatives could make deals without her, and with the NDP or the Bloc Québécois. Add to that the high expectations for Green gains may not be met. The party appears to be plateauing in the polls. But on her way to Friday's big climate change rally in Montreal, May said she and her team are going to stay on track and try to keep momentum building for their climate fight. David Thurton, CBC News, Montreal.
As you just heard, Elizabeth May is in Montreal for tomorrow's climate march. The Liberal and Bloc Québécois leaders say they will also be there. Jagmeet Singh will attend one in Victoria. So those are just two of about 140 Canadian protests for the global climate strike. Adrian, you're getting ready to cover that big one.
Right, exactly, Rosie. So here in Montreal, the turnout is expected to be huge. Hard to say how many will show up, but officials are preparing for 300,000 people. I'm standing on Ile Saint-Alain in the St. Lawrence River. Behind me, that's downtown Montreal, where all those marchers will take to the streets to demand action on climate change. And there will be a star in attendance. And that, of course, is Greta Thunberg, the 16-year-old Swedish activist who started the Friday climate protest movement. She's become a leader for so many young people who believe they are fighting for their futures. In this city, climate protests really draw crowds. About 100,000 people turned out to this one in the spring. Now imagine that tripled. Public transit will be free on Friday. Some school boards, cégeps, and universities have canceled classes. And some businesses are closing down so their staff can attend. Organizers are not revealing the march route for security and logistical reasons, but at the end of it, Greta Thunberg will get the key to the city from Montreal's mayor, Valérie Plante. At the United Nations Climate Action Summit earlier this week in New York, Plante took center stage, the only Canadian to do so, pledging not just to meet the UN emissions target for cities, but to exceed it. She told the UN Montreal will reduce its emissions by 55% by 2030. Now, earlier today, I met up with her to talk about her plans for the city and channeling the momentum of the public push to just do more about climate change. It's a big promise, 55% reduction. Why is it up to a mayor to make that declaration?
You know, I'm not going to wait for other level of government to move forward or to be very audacious. I'm hoping they're going to jump in the wagon. And but for now, I feel like I need to show the world, at least the country, that this is possible.
Okay. I hear you on that, but what everybody else is waiting for is exactly how you intend to do it. Because the headline alone is one thing, and people take note of that. But what they really want to know is what are they going to be asked to give up?
Yes. So the objective is to share the plan by January. I wanted to make the announcement because we've been working with a panel of experts, but it will go in all the activities. I'm thinking about buying more greenlands, like I just did in the west part of the island.
You didn't make a lot of friends amongst developers.
No, it's true. It's true. But you know, at one point, you just have to put your feet down and say enough with the old way of developing.
Other cities have considered and put in place congestion taxes to stop people from driving or make it harder for them to drive in the center of the city.
I'm not so much at this time about adding taxes. I'm more about how could I make some area, for example, here in the old Montreal, should we make it a place where it's zero emission section like we've seen in London?
What have you given up?
What I've given up? That's hard to, that's a good question. Well, I never had a car, for example, in my life. Well, now I do. Okay, so you've made it worse. What's the difference? Yeah, you're right. I'm using less my bike because I'm the mayor. What have I given up? I'm making less trips, for sure, even as mayor.
You're very determined. You spent some time with the very determined Greta Thunberg. She's going to get the key to the city tomorrow. Are you worried about her?
Yes, I am, because she's a girl. And as a girl in this world, a woman in this world, when you take a strong stand, when you get your voice out, you get more criticized. But it's even more than criticized. You get threats.
You have a security detail.
Yes.
Are you going to share it with her?
Yes, I am actually. Yes, and I've made there's an electric car that will be there for her to escort her if she's tired. We're supporting her in her stay in Montreal. And security as well. It's super important. She will be well surrounded by tons of youth who sees her as a symbol, a leader, which is great. But to me, she totally has her place within this big discourse. It's important to have a voice like Greta.
I'll be back a little later from Montreal. Until then, it's back to Rosie in Toronto.
And there's more news ahead on The National at issue on using climate change to change voters' minds. But first, a CBC News exclusive. More women come forward with disturbing allegations against a longtime Ottawa City Councilor. And later, David Common travels a half a world away and finds more of your recycling piled high.
Plus, nearly 2 years ago, 2 sisters were killed on Christmas Day. Well, today their father has been found guilty of murder. Reaction from the courtroom after the break.
Ottawa's mayor says he's disturbed and disgusted, and city councillors want one of their own to resign. Rick Chiarelli. 2 weeks ago, we reported on an allegation that he asked a job applicant if she'd go braless to some work events. Now, more women have come forward with new allegations. Joanne Quinello has a CBC News exclusive.
He asked me if I participate in World Orgasm Day.
This 23-year-old woman was one of 6 people who came forward. CBC News has agreed to conceal their identities because of their concerns about future employment. She says last year, City Councillor Rick Chiarelli invited her to a job interview and asked about her hobbies.
He was like, oh, so if you've done dance for so long, that must mean that you're really flexible. And then I was kind of like set back. And then further into that conversation, he asked me if I've ever done stripping, if that was a part of my dancing, and if I've ever considered doing stripping because I had the body for it.
Another woman who worked for him for 4 years says she was sent to strip clubs to allegedly spy on another city councillor, and she was told to wear revealing clothes on these missions.
When I put the top on, originally I put the top on with a bra on. From there, he kind of looked at me and went, oh, it would look better if there was no bra. And the way that it was said was very, well, you kind of have a choice, but the implied is you don't have a choice in this matter.
This woman says she too was asked to wear skimpy clothing in a bizarre ploy to recruit volunteers.
The most shocking thing that he said to me was that we had to recruit men for him, and that was dancing with guys and acting like you would like to sleep with them.
Rick Chiarelli's lawyer says the councillor adamantly denies the allegations and that he's dealing with serious medical issues.
He says Shirelli will respond more substantively when he's feeling better. Yesterday, Ottawa City Council postponed a decision to give Shirelli a formal leave of absence, calling it premature. Meanwhile, the women who are speaking out now say they wish they'd done so sooner.
I was nervous that nobody would believe me. It would be like he said, she said situation, and this guy's and the city councilor, so it just, why would somebody believe some 20-year-old girl over some guy who has a reputation in the city for 30 years?
The Integrity Commissioner is now investigating Shirelli's conduct. Today, the mayor was asked why it took so long.
Until someone brings forward a complaint, it's difficult for us to investigate a rumor and innuendo, unfortunately.
The mayor is now urging these women to get in touch with the Integrity Commissioner, and late this afternoon announced that the city is reviewing its hiring practices. Joanne Chianello, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now let's go to the National Newsroom in Vancouver, and Ian is following several other stories tonight.
And Rosemary, we begin here in British Columbia, where a guilty verdict was handed down in the trial of Andrew Barry. The Vancouver Island man murdered his 2 young daughters, Aubrey and Chloe. Such a disturbing crime. They were found in his Oak Bay apartment Christmas Day 2017. The CBC's Dan Burt was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. Dan?
Ian, a woman in the front row gasped with relief as the jury foreperson announced guilty to each count of second-degree murder. Andrew Barry simply bowed his head in the prisoner's box. This trial lasted 5 months. It heard from dozens of witnesses and some very gruesome testimony. Outside the courthouse, a friend of the murdered girl's mother said she felt tremendous relief, and she remembered the last time she saw Chloe and Aubrey.
The last time I saw little Aubrey, she, was missing her 2 front teeth, and she was looking forward to going to kindergarten. I guess I saw them on the Labor Day weekend before they started at their new schools, and they were keen about starting their new schools. It was just lovely to see their joy.
A second-degree murder conviction brings an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 10 to 25 years. Andrew Barry's case is back in court October 9th. Ian?
All right, Dan, thank you very much. To Alberta now, where there's been a twist in the case of David and Colette Stephan. The couple acquitted of failing to provide the necessaries of life for their son who died of meningitis. The judge who handed down that ruling is now being accused of discrimination. Justice Terry Claxon presided over the second trial for the couple in Lethbridge. He sided with the defense's medical expert over a forensic pathologist who speaks with a Nigerian accent. Well, a group of 42 doctors, lawyers, and professors have sent a complaint to the Canadian Judicial Council.
The justice made use of fairly hard language in discussing how an African man and his African accent came across in the courtroom.
The group is asking the Judicial Council to investigate. Another death of a young person has been linked to vaping in the United States. We'll have the details from health officials in 20 minutes. But first, Rosie will be next with the At Issue panel.
All you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
The teen climate activist message was also echoed on the campaign trail in this country.
In hearing Greta's speech yesterday,
we heard from Greta Thunberg.
16-year-old Greta Thunberg.
The federal leaders rolled out parts of their own climate policies, but not without playing politics.
Conservatives are running against climate action.
Justin Trudeau's plan has made it so that Canada falls further and further behind.
We see Mr. Trudeau, who continues to just say pretty words.
So how effective is climate change as a wedge issue or an issue at all in 2019? At Issue is here to dig into that and more. Chantal Hébert is in Vancouver tonight. Althea Raj is in Ottawa, and Paul Wells also in Ottawa tonight. Good to see everybody. So let's start with who is using climate change effectively as an issue. And that might sound a little bit crass, but they're obviously putting policy on the table while trying to also use it politically. Chantal, why don't I start with you?
Well, the Liberals are the incumbent, and they actually have policy
on the table that isn't a promise. Carbon pricing, tightening of legislation for for environmental assessments. Go down the list. You can disagree with all of those items or agree, but they actually have policy. They're saying that they would do more, and they're admitting that they haven't done enough. So that is where they are. Andrew Scheer's policy is to take all of that off the table and start from scratch. You can make of that what you want, but he doesn't have a lot of expert backing his plan as being more proactive than the Liberals. The Greens have this issue. They kind of own it with their name, but they're not going to be the government, and that's basically where everyone is at this point.
And the Greens are, you know, I would argue perhaps a little bit unattainable too if they're planning to double targets that the Liberals have now, which we're not even reaching now. So, Althea, how are the Liberals using this issue to their advantage, or are they?
Well, they're trying to. I mean, for them, the race is between themselves and the Conservatives, and they're trying to say that for people who do care about climate, and we know millennials and Generation Z do care about climate. For many people across the country, this is the #1 issue. For many people, it is not, but for some, it really is. And they're trying to say, well, the Conservatives don't have an adequate plan. Here is our plan. Yes, we know we have failed you. We have not done enough, because the NDP and the Greens keep reminding potential Liberal switchers that the Liberals have bought a pipeline, among other things that make the goal of net zero by 2050 seem a bit of a pipe dream. And so they are trying to use that as a wedge issue with the Tories. The NDP are trying to use it as a wedge issue against the Liberals. The Greens are trying to use it as a wedge issue against the NDP and the Liberals. And I think the Greens and the New Democrats have kind of discounted even having a conversation with the Conservatives on this issue. But for many people, this is very important.
Paul, what do you think of how people are managing this issue, which Althea is right, is important to a whole lot of people?
So I don't think this issue has created a lot of winners in this election. I don't think any of the parties has covered itself in glory on this file. And I would certainly include the Liberals in that. I do think it's created one fewer victim than I might have predicted, and in fact did predict going back a year. It seemed pretty obvious a year ago the Conservatives are going to run as hard against Justin Trudeau on carbon taxes as Doug Ford did against Kathleen Wynne to his benefit in the Ontario election last year. That sure hasn't happened. Andrew Scheer gives every impression of not wanting to talk about climate change or carbon taxes as often as he can get away with it. And he is acting as though he does not think this issue is any kind of winner for him. I find that very interesting.
Is it dangerous, though?
But it is not a winner for him.
Yeah. No. Okay. So, no. Paul. I'll let Paul finish. Go ahead, Paul.
But the thing is, it sure was a winner for large provincial Conservative parties in provincial race after provincial race as recently as the past year, right? Doug Ford rolled right over Kathleen Wynne on this issue. Jason Kenney, perhaps a bit more predictably, beat Rachel Notley's NDP handily on this issue. And it was not hard to find Conservatives, federal Conservatives quite recently, who expected to use the same playbook to the same effect. And they've been and they really haven't followed through. I don't have an elaborate explanation for that, but I find it very interesting.
Okay.
On the value of fighting climate change, the Liberals have fought the Conservatives at least to a draw. On the wisdom of a Liberal policy going forward, well, it'd be nice if we saw some.
Okay, Chantal.
One, you can hardly win Quebec or BC by fighting carbon tax because they are provincial programs that are based on a political consensus on those two provinces. So there is that leaves Andrew Scheer with very little to argue on that front. But two, the fact that, and we saw it in the McLean's debate, the fact that
the Paul Wells debate, as I like to call it,
that the Green Party, the NDP, and the Bloc Québécois do not even, and say clearly that they do not even consider that the Conservatives are engaged in this conversation, kind of does give the Liberals an advantage, because those three parties are making the case for the Liberals that your choice, if you're trying to find a government, is one that has a glass half empty and one that is more interested in emptying the half-empty glass.
Okay, so that actually segues nice into these comments that Elizabeth May gave to my colleague David Thurton on the train over the past 24 hours, saying that she wouldn't prop up a minority government, or she wouldn't support any government that goes ahead with the Trans Mountain Pipeline. How does that? I don't even know where that ends up then, Althea. I mean, that's assuming we have a minority government, I assume. But I don't know if that means the pipeline's gone or if we see some weird version of the Liberals and the Conservatives working together. What do you think?
Well, the NDP has not said that. Like Jagmeet Singh today was pretty careful with his words. I actually wrote them down. He wrote that he would ensure that we, this is the New Democrats, continue to oppose this project, but he did not go as far as Elizabeth May. So if the Liberals are looking for a dance partner, well, then it looks like Jagmeet Singh may be more willing to work with Mr. Trudeau than Elizabeth May. I know that some New Democrat candidates really hope that this is a bargaining chip in a minority government, that proportional representation comes back as a bargaining chip. Sure. Ms. May had also said that she was interested in putting PR as a bargaining chip. So I'm really at the moment, I think all this is kind of like talk in the clouds, and we'll see how the math shakes up on election night, and what bedfellows are there for potential alliances to be made. It's also, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense, the pipeline issue, when you're also talking about possibly building a refinery. So there are a lot of inconsistencies in the Greens plan, I think, and they say more details will follow.
Well,
so
and the fact
will
that
look attentively for that.
Yeah, and the fact they think Canada can just survive on Canadian oil somehow, which points to your point on refinery. Paul, what do you read into that statement and how people should consider it as we go through the election?
One gets the impression that Elizabeth May, who has hoped for all of her political career for electoral reform, still has a very hard time dealing with, strategizing around the electoral system that we have, and even understanding it. If she's not going to support a government that is going to have a pipeline, and the only two possible parties that are going to form a government are the Conservatives who want a pipeline and the Liberals who currently own it, that means that's a formula for not ever voting for any bill passed by a government whose support that would almost certainly not need her support. This is the sort of big talk that we get before elections, and then afterwards parties do what they have to do. Jack Layton used to say that the price of NDP support for a minority government would be support for electoral reform. He never cashed in that shit in reality because he never had the math that he would have needed.
So campaigning's always different no matter what party you're in. Yes, Chantal, go ahead.
But also because most voters would have felt that you didn't bring down the government and provoke an election over electoral reform, as important as it may be to some people. What I find interesting is, as far as I can see on the ground, but also in the polls, the party that is gaining ground among third parties and could have the balance of power is the party that doesn't talk about what it would do or who it would support, and that's the Bloc Québécois. Yes. And at this point, I think possibly it would be safer for all those parties to focus on their campaign rather than tell us in advance things that they will not have the means to do. In any scenario.
I don't know why anyone ever answers that question, to be honest, but they do. Just a really quick go-round on the strategy we saw from Andrew Scheer today in Justin Trudeau's riding, asking for an inquiry, saying that he's going to put this No More Cover-Ups Act in place. I'm not gonna play any of what he said, but Althea, I sort of thought that the SNC stuff was baked in the polls. So does this make sense for Scheer? And a quick go-around from everybody.
Well, the issue about blackface did not seem to have the desired effect that I think the Tories had hoped in the polls. So I'm not surprised they're talking about SNC again. Jody Wilson-Raybould's book tour did not put SNC-Lavalin back in the storefront window, so that's no surprise. When the Gomery inquiry was launched, basically the Liberals were like down in the dumps for 9 years. So I'm not surprised that Andrew Scheer would like to launch an inquiry into this.
Chantal, then Paul, last word.
I think that the Conservatives are going to find that it was foolish to go talk about ordering judicial inquiries in the context of a partisan speech in Quebec, where the SNC-Lavalin is not going to turn into an asset for the Conservatives. And the worst part of it is they are in a battle to gain ground or hold their ground against the Bloc Québécois. And today it was the Bloc Québécois that put down Andrew Scheer by saying he's only Quebec bashing.
Paul, last word.
Stephen Harper once asked, do you really want to live in a country where each new government launches an investigation against his predecessor? That's almost the only part of the Harper legacy that Mr. Scheer seems to have forgotten.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. At Issue will be off next week, and don't be upset. It's because the National is hosting a special television event all week, face-to-face with 4 federal leaders as they sit down with undecided voters right here in the National studio. I'll be there, too, to try and make sure they're getting the answers that they need to make a choice on Election Day. I'm excited about that. We're back in 2 minutes with a CBC Marketplace investigation, tracing the plastic you put in the recycling bin far away from your curb to a dump on the other side of the world.
Welcome back to Montreal, where tomorrow hundreds of thousands of people are expected to march for action on climate change. It's one of more than 100 global climate strike protests planned in this country alone. One climate action many Canadians just take as a given is recycling. But what happens to most of the stuff you separate out from the garbage? Our Marketplace colleagues tracked some of it down on the other side of the world. Here's David Common.
Natasha Sumera is a super recycler, even hauling extra waste to the depot on top of her blue box, expecting it'll all get a new life.
I think that we have a responsibility to do our part.
Many of us assume the plastic we put out gets turned into new plastic. And yet, CBC Marketplace located thousands of tons of Western plastic in enormous dumps amid shady recyclers here in Malaysia. Standards are lax, labor cheap.
Cheap labor? Cheap? Yeah. Really?
Processors will take just about anything. But that doesn't mean it's all getting recycled. Sometimes it's just burned.
Holy moly. Look at how big this is. Just take a look. Look how far it goes.
We snuck into this recycling factory asking the question, is this what Canadians expect when they take their blue box to the curb?
This is Canadian Tire. This is Marketplace IGA. This is Real Canadian Superstore. Compliments, Water, the Dollar Store.
Reprocessing it or burning it, leaving potentially toxic smoke in the air here. Our waste is even filling their waterways with tiny plastic pellets.
Those tiny white pellets, the billions of them there, were a juice container or a salad container or something just a few months ago. And now they're here.
So environmentally, recycling is not a good idea.
Really?
Waste management expert Myra Hurd says with less than 1/10 of plastic used in Canada ultimately being recycled, reduction is key.
Should we just not be recycling?
Well, recycling should be really down as a last resort.
And yet Canada continues its consumption and in many cases exporting our problem for others to deal with. David Common, CBC News, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
You can watch David's entire investigation tomorrow night on the season premiere of Marketplace. That is at 8 p.m. on CBC Television, 8:30 in Newfoundland. And that is it from us tonight in Montreal. Ian is back in 2 minutes with more news here on The National.
Welcome back to our national newsroom in Vancouver. Hong Kong's embattled leader held her first public meeting with protesters today. There were more than 20,000 applicants for the community dialogue, but only 150 people were selected to join Carrie Lam at the town hall. Citizens accused her government of ignoring months of protests calling for democratic reform. Scores of demonstrators also gathered outside, at one point blocking Lam's exit from the stadium where the event was held. Another death of a young person has been reported in the United States linked to vaping, and that brings the total to 12. And it comes as the U.S. Center for Disease Control announced today that the incidence of severe lung illness linked to the use of e-cigarettes has soared. There are now 805 cases from across the United States, experts urging teens and adults to stop using e-cigarettes. In Canada, there's been one reported case of a vaping-related illness. And a massive fire at a chemical plant in northern France has residents worried about the environmental and health impacts. Schools in the area were closed. Residents advised to remain inside as 200 firefighters battled the blaze in northern France. The fire started in a factory that makes chemical compounds. Oily residue is reportedly being found on nearby streets and cars. No one was injured. It's time for a quick break. We're back in 2 minutes. What do you think this election will change in your life? We'll take our voters' chair to Alberta to find out.
So throughout the campaign, we've been taking our voters' chair across the country, asking Canadians to take a seat and give us their thoughts on the issues. And tonight, we are in Alberta, where we ask people how they hope this election will improve their lives.
That's a good question. There's a lot at stake in this election.
What do I hope this election changes in my life? I hope this election puts a lot more focus on climate change for me, because I think that's the largest issue that faces my generation and also the world. And as much as different policies are important, like talking about healthcare and housing and infrastructure, none of that's going to matter if we're not around to work on it in 20 years.
I hope they improve healthcare. I live day to day being handicapped. Sometimes wanting to get up in the morning is hard for me because I just don't want to face the pain. If I could say something to the leaders, I would say, well, live in my shoes for a while.
I think that the next government of Canada really has to look at our energy policy and really has to bring back those types of decisions that are going to bring investment back here to Alberta.
My name is Mike, and I'm part of the lower income class, and affordable housing doesn't exist in Canada these days. It's hard enough to make a living, to pay for daily costs. The food prices are increasing. We need to take care of the homeless situation across Canada.
Very skeptical that my life will change at all based on the election results. My husband has been out of work for 2 years from the slowdown in the oil patch and trying to retrain into a new industry. So I think it would be very important for me that this election helps boost the Calgary economy and gets my family back to work.
I have an aging mother with Alzheimer's, and it's a 2-year wait to get her into a home. So that would be nice if there was some more funding toward that.
I am a truck driver. I'm not as busy as I used to be. The last few years have been a real big downslide for the trucking economy. And in order to move forward, we need a change.
I'm not a spring chicken, so I hope that they do something with pensions. I hope it brings climate change for the young people. My kids and their kids are going to have to be the ones to suffer for all the mistakes we've all made. If I could say something to the future leaders of Canada, I would say, be honest, be open, look for our future generations. They're the ones that are counting on you now.
Alberta's gorgeous, just as an aside. Next on The National, a special gift from the Indigenous community to Manitoba's courtrooms. The historic moment in Winnipeg is our moment tonight. Next. An early morning ceremony was held today featuring smudging and a prayer to bless eagle feathers that will now be available in every provincial courtroom in Manitoba. It's an important cultural symbol, and now those who testify can swear an oath on these feathers instead of Bibles. And that is our moment of the day.
On this day, we look forward, determined to walk in justice, in honesty, in the best possible way.
A new affirmation developed in collaboration with the elders will be used when a witness is testifying. The presence of eagle feather in the courtroom and at the court counter will provide Indigenous and Aboriginal Manitobans with confidence that they will be heard.
This is a historical moment for us to see our way of life being accepted into the courts like this.
Obviously, a really powerful thing for First Nations communities in Manitoba to have. There's one of 40 eagle feathers in the room with them in a place where they are perhaps overrepresented and don't feel a real trusting relationship all the time within the justice system. To give them some empowerment when they're there, it's a really special thing to do.
Yeah, because court, obviously, we've both been there as reporters, can be a very intimidating place, even if all you're doing is just watching to report on it, much less if you're involved in the process. And keep in mind, courtrooms are filled with symbolism. There are often portraits of the Queen, there are coats of arms, there are the robes that the judges wear. So this is a symbol not just for Indigenous communities, but I think a symbol of inclusivity for everybody.
That's absolutely right.
That is the National for September the 26th. Good night.